Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile found...
Welcome to the Shadowland Radio Show. I'm your host, Dr. William Lester, and I'd like to thank you for joining us. I'd like to say a special thanks to all of those people who have subscribed to the program on our YouTube channel at Blackwater Media. The show can be heard on YouTube and also on Google Plus and on our Facebook page and also at shadowlandradioshow.com. On this edition of the show, Monsters in the World of Men. A sea serpent of impressive size was reportedly seen in and around Gloucester Harbor, Massachusetts by many persons during the month of August 1817. Prompted by heated debate between believers and skeptics, a special committee of the Linnean Society of New England collected a sheaf of sworn statements from purported eyewitnesses. The affidavit of Matthew Gaffney, ship's carpenter, typically deposed that on the 14th day of August, A.D. 1817, between the hours of 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I saw a strange marine animal, resembling a serpent in the harbor in said Gloucester. I was in a boat and was within 30 feet of him. His head appeared full, as large as a 4-gallon keg, his body as large as a barrel, and his length that I saw I should judge 40 feet at least. The top of his head was of a dark color, and the under part of his head appeared nearly white, as did also several feet of his belly that I saw. I fired at him when he was the nearest to me. The creature, Gaffney went on, turned as if to charge the boat, then sank like a stone and reappeared some 100 yards away. It moved at a rate of about 1 mile per 2 or 3 minutes. A mysterious trail of suction cup-like impressions caught the attention of the cattle inspector and law enforcement officer investigating a typical case of cattle mutilation in Rio Arriba County, New Mexico. The incident, involving a 3-year-old cow missing its sexual organs, tongue, and 1 ear, was reported June 13, 1976, by a rancher in the Dulce area. The June 15th issue of the Albuquerque Tribune stated that the indentations were tripod-like, about 4 inches in diameter and 28 inches apart from each other. The tracks terminated about 500 feet from the dead animal, according to the law officer, as if they had landed at that point, gone to the cow, and then returned to that point. The day after the investigators had visited the site, the article continued, the rancher had returned and found more depressions on top of the tire tracks made by his truck the day before. Several similar incidents were to occur in the Dulce area in 1978. When the famous beauty and the fame of Miss Patrick Campbell was beginning to fade, she was nursed through a period of sickness by another actress, Sarah Allgood. Miss Campbell was grateful for the loving care she had received from her colleague and, as a token of thanks, gave Miss Allgood a watercolor painting of a heron. Afterward, Miss Campbell went to France and Miss Allgood to Hollywood, where she moved into a house. The year was 1940. Sarah Allgood's first dream in the new house was of Mrs. Campbell, who said, "Have you found my gift from the grave? Look behind the picture." Miss Allgood was puzzled by the dream, since she had no reason to believe that Miss Campbell was not still alive. But she looked behind the painting of the heron and there found a caricature of Miss Campbell by Sir Max Beerbohm, worth about $2,000 at the time. Sarah Allgood later learned that Miss Patrick Campbell had died on the day of her inexplicable dream. Human skulls with horns were found in a burial mound in Bradford County, Pennsylvania in the 1880s. Except for the horny projections some 2 inches above the eyebrows, the men to whom these skeletons belonged appeared to be anatomically normal, though at 7 feet tall, well above average height. It was estimated that they were buried around the year 1200. The find was made by a reputable group of antiquarians, including a Pennsylvania state historian and a dignitary of the Presbyterian Church, and 2 professors, A.B. Skinner of American Investigating Museum and W.K. Moorhead of Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts. Some of the bones were sent to the American Investigating Museum in Philadelphia, where they seem to have disappeared. A Forestry Service employee reported seeing several people in hooded black robes near Cove Creek in Blaine County, Idaho, one day in September 1975. The following day, a number of mutilated cattle were found in the area, and police launched an unsuccessful search for the supposed cultists. On October 9th, a motorist told police that he had been driving along U.S. Highway 95 in northern Idaho at about 3:30 a.m. when he encountered some 15 masked people forming a roadblock with linked arms. He managed to turn his car around and escape. The White River at Newport, Arkansas was the scene of several sightings of bizarre aquatic creatures during the 1970s. On July 28, 1971, Cloyce Warren of the White River Lumber Company went fishing with 2 friends. Mooring their boat just south of the White River Bridge, they cast their lines. Suddenly, the 3 men were astounded to see a huge column of water belching skyward from a point about 200 feet away. "I didn't know what was happening," Warren later told reporters. This giant form rose to the surface and began moving in the middle of the river, away from the boat. It was very long and gray-colored. We had taken a little Polaroid swinger camera with us to take pictures of the fish we caught. I grabbed the camera and managed to get a picture right before it submerged. It appeared to have a spiny backbone that stretched for 30 or more feet. It was hard to make out exactly what the front portion looked like, but it was awful large. The Newport Daily Independent published the picture 2 days later. The White River monster, seen in the distance, was slightly blurred around the edges, but appeared to be a large creature, as yet unidentified. An English adventurer named Andrew Battelle spent many years in Africa during the 16th century, and upon returning home gave a detailed account of his experiences to his friend Samuel Purchas. That account appears in a famous compilation of travel writings entitled Purchas, His Pilgrims, published in 1625. According to Battelle, who was amazed by all the baboons, monkeys, and apes in the jungles, 2 kinds of monsters were also common, both of them very dangerous. His account is as follows. The greatest of these 2 monsters is called Pongo in a local language, and the lesser is called Ngeko. The Pongo is in all proportion like a man, but that he is more like a giant in a stature than a man, for he is very tall, and has a man's face, hollow-eyed, with long hair upon his brow. His face and ears are without hair, and his hands also. His body is full of hair, but not very thick, and it is of a dunnish color. They travel together and kill many locals that travel in the woods. Many times they also fall upon elephants which come to feed, and they beat them with their club fists and pieces of wood, and then run roaring away. Those Pongos are never taken alive because they are so strong that 10 men cannot hold one of them. That concludes this episode of the Shadowland Radio Show. Thank you for listening. I'd like to remind you that the show can be heard on the Blackwater Media YouTube channel, the Shadowland Radio Show Facebook page, Google+, and ShadowlandRadioshow.com. I'd also like to invite you to listen to a new program that I am pleased and proud to co-host with friend and colleague Mark Zaski. The show is entitled Agenda Earth. It too can be heard on the Blackwater Media YouTube channel and on Facebook. Until we meet again, don't panic, don't fear, and let not your heart be troubled, because I promise to see each and every one of you again on the flip side